we need to make it mandatory to ask people to come and share something from last week.
Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Even the personal story. Otherwise, like, what is the benefit? Go ahead, Farid.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess so far, what I have gotten from these halakas is like everything that happens to us, any event, carries a meaning. It has a message. And from last week's class, we briefly went over that sometimes if you have same type of events, you feel that the same type of events are happening, that's a good sign. And if you realize that, it's like a beginning of waking up. I guess the moment, we start to realize, I guess just realizing that, oh, you have like you're stuck in an infinite loop, then I guess you have to, let's see, you gotta know that, you need to do something. I don't know, I'm just like lost with words.
I like the word stuck in an infinite loop. I like that. And you need to find your way out, maybe?
Right. Press the escape button. Let's see. And I mean, I guess it's also like Dr. Yamina kept emphasizing that, it's important that we be Muslims and before we talk about patience. And it's, I don't know, it's challenging to do. I don't know, I just find it challenging, and I don't know if anybody wants to share anything. That would be great.
Okay. I thank you very much for being brave to to actually share with us, and yes, it is challenging to be a Muslim. And everyone, I personally can share. I love giving halakas, and I love trying to understand as I give halakas, but I find it personally most of the time very difficult to apply. So I pray for myself and for everyone that we can, inshallah, hopefully, inshallah, at one point reach where we are a Muslim and it becomes our nature, and then we can see things. But like you said, I just think that Yamina, and you correct me, the more we witness, the more we actually stop and witness, the more we build the trust. And I think there's no way we can trust God unless we stop and witness. And we make a point that we are witnessing. And when we do that repeatedly, then we should reach, inshallah, to a point of trusting. And when that point of trusting comes, then inshallah, we can be Muslims. Then we trust that things happen for a reason. And we would trust that based on our small repeated steps of witnessing, that stop and make a witnessing. Does anyone else want to share? Please. I can read names. There is Asim is there. There is Esra. Okay, there's NECVA, which is there. There's Saida is there. There's Samsung is there. So anyone else wants to share? Isra, have you read your notes?
Okay, can I also just touch base upon something?
Yes, please do.
I guess last halakha, Dr. Yamina also mentioned something about, we were talking about a fact being created versus perception. Yep. So, I mean, these are all, it's given to us. These are created. How do you actually differentiate between these two? The perception versus fact.
Yamina, that is like how many workshops? These are several workshops together, perception versus fact. I guess if it leads to gratitude, it's a fact. And if it leads to uneasiness, if it leads to resentment, to burden, to all of that, then it's a perception. So I guess when, everything leads to gratitude, if you have this lesson then if the event you're in leads to gratitude, then this is a thankful fact, your gratitude for a fact that God is giving you this to be grateful for. But if it's needed to otherwise, then it's your perception that makes it a moment not to be grateful.
That's interesting, and I just wanted, from what I have grasped was, I guess the choices sometimes you make, they start with your, like your thought process, and your thought process sometimes is linked to the way you perceive things. And I don't know, how do you connect that with how do you, I don't know, maybe I'm trying to say, how do you bring in the belief element in between? For example, your thoughts become perception, and then how do you connect that to belief? I don't know if that makes sense.
I think what Alia said is really like a test, because that's the outcome rather than the process. We have talked about fact versus perceptions in some of our teleconferences. It's one of the main things we learn to differentiate in our retreats, especially coming into that space when we actually are questioning, asking, and feeling the need to distinguish between fact and perception, because most of the time we take it for granted that it's the same thing. So it's a huge step to actually come to that awareness that what I perceive is not necessarily the fact. And so we learn in our retreats to question our thoughts, and then also listen when we ask the question. Listen to our hearts, because the questions, the answers are inspired, and so we don't know them in advance. We have to learn to stop and ask questions and stop and listen to the answers. And then the moment we question things, it becomes almost immediately. I wouldn't say immediately, but almost immediately, once we learn how to go through the process, because the process is challenging, because we are so used to take it for granted that we know the answer. So we ask the question and immediately we come up with a question. We don't stop and wait for an answer. So whatever the issue is, whatever the perception is, but it is directly linked to belief. And thank you, Fariha, for the question, because it's a very important question. And we'll talk about it, inshallah, because it's related to not only being a mu'min, but also being a muhsin. Because when I am unhappy with my life, it could be that I am unhappy as a result of my perception, but because I perceive it as unhappy with the fact out there, I feel that I'm unhappy with God's creation. So actually, I'm slandering God's creation. I'm not exaggerating. This is the words used in the Quran again and again. Yaftari says, those who slander God's ayat, because we don't see them as they are. We see them as we fancy them they are. And we'll see why. Inshallah, I'll keep that in mind today, too. Why do we do that? Why do we get into that loop of self-delusion, perceiving things and thinking that's the reality, or not realizing that's not the reality? Because usually we don't say this is the reality, we're just not even aware of it. Because if I could say this is the reality, It means I'm aware that I'm doing it. Fariha?
Alhamdulillah, yeah, that was good. Thank you.
So if you want, maybe we can start, and then Alia, you can encourage everyone to comment and ask questions while we are reflecting together, inshallah.
Inshallah. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let's get started. Jazakallah khair, Sister Yamina. Bismillah.
Thank you, Alia. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome back to Always Receiving Nur's weekly classes on Yusuf's story in the Quran. We're coming to the end of this beautiful story. May we always be open to receiving the light of divine guidance that we get through the Quran and through the creation. And may we live with that enlightening divine guidance, inshallah. اللهم افتح لنا أبواب حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. So, last week we stopped at ayah 106. And remember, the whole surah has 111 ayah. So, we're close to the end. And just to remember what we read last week, it was the ayah from 103, which is, yet most people, howsoever you might so desire, are not going to believe. وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. They are not believers, however much you want it. Most people are not believers. Although you do not ask them for any rewards, and although this is only a reminder for all humanity, and how many are the signs in the heavens and on earth, how many are the ayat in the creation which they pass by without paying any heed. And we especially stopped last week on this last ayah, which was 105, like how come we see the signs out there, but we don't take them seriously, which is we don't see them really as signs. Even for us who know that they are signs, most of the time we forget about that. And ayah 106 was, and most of them do not even believe in God without committing shirk, without being mushrik. And the Arabic is a continuous, it's a state of being. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Like in their way of believing, there is shirk. They are mushrik as they are believing in God. That's the only way they know how to believe in God, which is really, really interesting. And so in ayah 103, we're told that most people, that means most of us, or we can understand it as me most of the time. Most of the time I don't believe in the message. And the message here is not only the Quran, but also the creational signs, because that's what 105 is about. The ayat, the signs, are the signs in the Quran as well as the signs in creation. They confirm each other, they are relating the same message ultimately to us. And we don't, most of the time we don't believe in the message, we live unaware of the message, although we're not asked for anything in return. Like it's not, it's because they're asking us for something in return. Not only that, plus actually the message is for our own benefit. It is a reminder to all humankind. It's for us, and it is a message that is relevant to all of us, to us in all our circumstances, to me all the time, under all conditions, So it's such an important, such a valuable message, yet, and no one is asking me for anything in return. Actually, I'm the one benefiting from it, yet I don't take it seriously. I don't believe in it. Probably because I don't really know what it is. And in Surah Yusuf, in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, we understood how valuable it is because it brings light to my life, my everyday life, especially not only a purpose and a meaning in my life, but also the destination of my life, where I came from, and especially where am I going to? What am I doing here? It gives me the answers to all those very, very important questions. They are very important because accordingly, the importance of what I do, how I plan my life is going to change accordingly. And such a beautiful message, such an important message, how come we don't take it seriously? It's very, very interesting. And it's a message, the message in Surah Yusuf especially. It teaches us that, as Fariha reminded us, every event, everything in our life is an ayah, a sign, not only carrying meanings, but carrying beautiful meanings, life-giving, how do you say, essential meanings. Something very, very important, not only beautiful, but meaningful, very important, very essential for our lives. And messages from our caring Rabb. Suddenly, you are not this no one, who cares about. You become the addressee to Rabbul Alameen. Suddenly, you are the guest of this beautiful, caring Rabb. Subhanallah. And so this message that most of us, most of the time, don't take seriously, don't believe in it. As we said last time, if someone says there is a truck, if I'm standing in the middle of the road and someone tells me there is a truck coming, if I believe in what that person is saying, I will immediately leave the road. But if I just still carry on doing whatever I'm doing there, stand there, and don't take it seriously, it means ultimately I don't really believe in what they're saying. So here for this message is the same, this message that teaches us how to find rahmah, how to find hikmah and wisdom, and all the beautiful qualities of the divine that we crave so much and that we need, that the human ruh, the human soul, the human spirit needs, is actually in everything around us, in every event, even, especially this is very important, in painful events. And so you realize suddenly that nothing is in vain. Everything is purposeful, meaningful, beautiful. Everything is like a mirror reflecting the beautiful divine names, the Asma al-Husna. And when we do understand the message this way, and we decide to practice it in our lives, then we start experiencing its reality. So this message is not something that we only know, how would you say, theoretically or intellectually. It's something that the heart needs to be satisfied. So it's something that I need to live with, and then I experience its reality. Then I witness, like Ali was saying, that yes, this message is the truth, it is haqq. Then I confirm its veracity. Where in my heart, even if I can't explain it to others, even if I can't articulate it, in my heart, I know with certainty that whatever occurs in my life happens with purpose, even when I cannot fathom, when I cannot understand its meaning, because I'm so limited. You see, it is when I live with this consciousness, I am aware of who I am. I am aware of my vulnerability. I'm aware of my limitedness. So I don't claim that, oh, if I don't understand it, then it means that it's not there. That's not true. How do I know? It says in the Quran, Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. God knows, you don't know. How can you know? You don't know what's going to happen a minute later. And so then we trust. That's what Alia emphasized in the beginning. She said, as we witness again and again Allah's care for us, and we witness His signs, His beautiful signs, then we trust. We trust in our Rabb, we trust in His mercy, in His rahmah. And then we fear no one else, because we surrender that, something that we kept, that we learned again and again in this beautiful story, Yusuf's story, is in al-hukmu illa lillah, that the last word, the judgment, the last word in everything belongs to God alone. So there is no need to fear anyone or anything else. And if I'm not certain about this, if I have fear of other things, that means the door to shirk is open. Because it means in my heart, I am not certain that everything is under the control of my Rabb only. And so I'm afraid that other things may mess up with my life, let's say. And this is what it means to live with Tawheed. And without this Tawheed, living with this Tawheed, feeling it, being certain, having that yaqeen about it, I can't trust. I can surrender. I can trust. So the message here that we says they don't believe in the message is not as we may imagine. The message is not, we need to believe in God because we're Muslim or something like that. That's not the message. I mean, most of the people on the globe believe in God. That's only the beginning. If you remember in our teleconference, in seeing the difference between superficial tawheed and genuine tawheed. And the believing in God, there must be a God, there must be a creator, is the beginning. It's not bad, but it's only the beginning. It's not what the Quran is teaching. The Quran does not talk to people who do not even acknowledge the existence of a deity. It's talking to us who are always prone to committing shirk. So it's really about Tawheed, making one, realizing that everything has only one and only one source. And I only realize it, and my heart is satisfied when I realize it in myself, consciously. And then there is no way, if I'm sure that I have, my Rabb is taking care of everything, then that will be reflected in the outer world as well. If I think that it's about, we need to believe in God, then it means that we haven't listened to the message truly, especially in Surah Yusuf. It means I did not get the message that this beautiful surah, this beautiful story is teaching me. And with that superficial understanding, or that superficial belief, a belief that is not confirmed, how do you say, corroborated, strengthened with the evidence of the creational ayat. Creational ayat is what I go through in my life, what I see and experience in my life. Then, if there is no confirmation, then I don't see the relevance of the message to my daily life. And then I don't realize how the Quran is healing. Remember at the very beginning, the Quran says it is a healing. Then I don't see how it is healing my pains. And so I remain unaware of the signs of the ayat in creation, in the heavens and on earth around me. Or at least I may know that they are ayat, but I don't live my life as though they were ayat. I live, or let's say the other way around, I live my life as though they were not ayat. I don't see messages from my Rabb everywhere in whatever befalls me. And that comes to surah, ayah 105 of this surah, when it says, how many are the signs in the heavens and on earth which they pass by without paying any heed. Sounds very familiar to me. So to live with Tawheed, to live with the awareness that all things, all events are ayat, telling us about the compassion, the rahmah, the beauty, the generosity, the knowledge, the power of their maker, our Rabb, our host in this world. That is to live with Tawheed. It's not only to know it or claim it. Otherwise, I mean, we may believe in God, but we would be passing by the ayat around us without paying heed, as it says in ayah 105. And that unawareness that everything around us is an ayah leads to shirk. And that's why in ayah 106, the next ayah immediately, it says, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. And most of them do not even believe in God without being a mushrik, without committing shirk, without associating other things with God in His power, in His divinity, in His rububiyyah, whatever. So knowing, according to this, is only the first step. And as we have said many times, it is necessary, but it is not sufficient. We need to decide. I want to emphasize this. Decide, making a choice. A decision is a choice. We need to stop and make a conscious choice to live with this knowledge. It doesn't happen on its own. Just because I keep going to halakas or keep thinking or keep studying, yes, it is necessary. It's very, very good. And now I have what is needed to start applying in my life. I have the tools. But unless I decide, unless I make that choice, intend to choose to live with this knowledge, it's not going to happen. And that's why often I don't know how you'd call it, the forgetting, what the Quran calls forgetting, nisyan, or not remembering, or maybe we can say procrastinating for some of us, because we say we will in the, I just finished this and I don't know what it means, because what are we relying on? What do you mean? Like tomorrow I may not even be here tomorrow. Somehow we're deluding ourselves. And so for some reason, we end up not living with this consciousness that all things and events are ayat. And what does it mean? It means I am not aware, I'm not conscious all the time that whatever is happening with a purpose, with a meaning, with wisdom and compassion. And this is very important. When do we see it? the right path. And so, to me, it's important to find out, why do we keep forgetting? And I always ask myself this, and maybe I've asked it before, maybe in our meetings. But I think it's very important, because why do we keep forgetting, since we know how important and how beautiful this is? It's not a burden, like Alia keeps reminding us. This is not a burden. This is just the other way around, something that will lighten our burdens, something that will make our life much easier and much more beautiful. Why do we keep forgetting? Why do we keep falling into ghafla? And if you look at the explanation in the Quran, it's because although our soul longs for eternal happiness, we content ourselves with this passing, transient worldly life. And we invest into it as though it were everlasting. And of course, we will see why. Why do we do this? Of course, there will be a why within a why. This is the first step. It seems like people in ghafla, when we are in ghafla, we're completely invested in this. And we invest into it as though it were everlasting. And of course, we will see why. Why do we do this? Of course, there will be a why within a why. This is the first step. It seems like people in ghafla, when we are in ghafla, we're completely invested in this work as though it is permanent, although we know it is not. It's just like, how do you say? Something that is not irrational, but we can't find the word. Crazy, let's say, in an easy way. It's just crazy. Like, who would do this knowingly? Well, of course, we don't do it knowingly. We put ourselves in that state of ghafla, and then we numb ourselves, and then we start acting in this very contradictory way. It says in the Quran, verily, as for those who do not hope to meet us and content themselves, let's say because they content themselves with the life of this world and do not look beyond it and are heedless, they are غافلون. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ آيَاتِنَا غَافِلُونَ. And they are heedless of our ayat. So let's go back. I will say it in an easy way. Those who are heedless, unaware of our ayat, God is telling us, those who are heedless are in ghafla of our signs, of our ayat all around them. They content themselves with this, the life of this world. And they do not see beyond it. They don't look beyond it. They don't see that the life of this world, the transient things of this world are all signs indicating something else. And so they do not hope to meet us. لا يرجون لقاءنا ورضوا بالحياة الدنيا واطمأنوا بها. And they were like satisfied with it, when actually it does not satisfy in a heart that is awake, a heart that is conscious, because it's no way something passing and transient cannot satisfy us. And if someone says, no, it's okay with me, it's not the truth. Because whenever someone we care about, for instance, dies, we are devastated. Why are we devastated? Because that assumption falls apart. So what it means is, when we are in a state of ghafla, then we live in the delusion that the world is permanent. And again, this is a choice. If we don't like it, we can always stop and go back and change it. Those who truly believe, on the other hand, they are not deluded. They are aware that everything is fani, is transient, is passing, and so they don't disregard or ignore this important reality. This is very, very important, because if this world is not fani, if it was baqi, if it was eternal, then that's it. Why should I care about anything else? That would be the reality, full stop. So the believers, the prophets, let's say, to make sure, they are aware of the constant flow of existence. They are aware that something is constantly flowing from ghaib, from an unseen world, and coming here and leaving constantly. And then therefore they are certain of the word of the unseen. Remember in Surah Al-Baqarah, the believers' first characteristic is that they are certain of the unseen. And so if you know that everything is coming from another world and is constantly going, then this world, you become aware that this world can't be your point of reference. And you start wondering about this ghaibi, this unseen world. And then you feel the need for guidance. What's going on? Who is sending this thing? Where are we going? Where are these things going? And so you feel the need for guidance in understanding the meaning of the messages from ghaib. So when these people hear the message of the prophets, they listen attentively, they take it seriously, and they are very eager to apply to their life because there is no other alternative, there is no other solution. There is nothing in our hands except the here and now. Everything else is an illusion. The past is not here, the future is not here yet. And so I need something to ground myself in, something to hold on, as it says in the Quran. And so when I find something, it's like a rope, someone is sending me this message, immediately I embrace it, and then I live with it. And when you live with it, then you experience for yourself that the message is indeed haqq, it is indeed the truth. But the ghafilun, as it says here, they forget about everything. They forget that everything is fani, passing, impermanent. They are unaware. They don't want to remember that there is only the here and now. And so they live in the world as though it were lasting, as though it were permanent. And just look at how we plan our life, how we live our lives, how we make decisions. We make decisions as though we're going to live in this world forever, as though everything is constant. We forget that everything is constantly changing around us. I mean, even let's say some things may not seem to be changing, although when you're careful, you see that everything is changing. We are changing. We are changing. So this state of ghafla, or let's say our state of ghafla, because it's not they, it's we, it's important for me to realize it, is really a state of self-delusion. Because it's not true that the world and all beings in it are permanent and lasting. That's a delusion. It's not even an illusion. If things are permanent, as we tend to see it in our perception when we are in that state of ghafla, and I will come back to each time to Fariha's question. When I'm in a state of ghafla, I make all the decisions as though everything is permanent. If I wake up once and ask the question, are they really permanent? Should I really be making this decision? It's clear that nothing is permanent. When I imagine the world and everything to be permanent, then they can't possibly be ayat, they can't be possibly signs, they can't be indicating any meaning as we are taught in the Quran. Because if again and again. If something is permanent, then it is the reality. That's it. I can hang on to it. It's there forever. It doesn't need anyone to sustain it. It is self-subsistent. It is itself. It has qayyumiyya. And there would be no need for any source beyond them, as it says in the ayah. They don't see anything beyond. Then there will be no ghaib, because they won't be coming from somewhere and going somewhere. They will be sitting there forever. But this is not true. Everything is fan, everything is impermanent. And the fact that these transient beings keep being replaced, this constant flow of creativity, indicate that they are coming from somewhere else, which we call the alam al-ghaib, a realm that is permanent, because every season, for instance, very similar things come again. Things leave, but other things come again. So wherever they're coming from, that's enduring. And that realm it's a realm that is the source of all this creativity. As it says in the Quran, it says, know that the life of this world is but a play and a passing delight and a beautiful show, and the cause of your boasting, vying with one another, and your greed for more and more riches and children. It is like rain. So this is very important. The life of this world, Allah says to us, is like rain. Think about it. It causes herbage. When rain comes, lots of greenery grows and delight the tillers of the soil, but then it withers and turns yellow, and in the end it crumbles into dust. The life of this world is nothing but an instrument of self-delusion. I mean, think about it, whatever your age is, think about all your past life, your life in the past. Whether you lived 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, does it matter? It's all gone. That's it. In another area, we told that, it says, and the life of this world is like the water which we send down from the skies and which is absorbed by the plants of the earth. But in time, they turn into dry stubble, which the winds blow away freely, and it is God alone who determines all things. SubhanAllah. So in these ayats, we are told that in order to live with the awareness that everything around us is actually an ayah, we need to reflect on the impermanence of everything. We need to at least remain aware of the impermanence of everything. You know, that flowing, and that's why in the Islamic tradition they called it the flowing moment, and sayyad. The moment I say now, it is not now anymore. It's like I don't know if you try to hold a fish in water, it slips from your hand. That's how the life of this world is. And this is not easy, as Fariha was saying. It's not easy, it's very challenging, because we don't like transience. Remember Ibrahim alayhi salam, he says, La uhibbul afilin. I do not like the transient things, the things that set. But it is the fact. It is the fact. And actually that fact itself is the fact that everything is impermanent is also an ayah. That's the only way we find the path or the way to a permanence, to alam al-ghaib, to eternity, to the hereafter. And that's why we're invited in the Quran to consciously reflect on the ayat in the world, to listen to the messages from our Rabb, until that becomes our way of life, as Aliyah reminded us. Which means until we start interacting with things, with events, with everything as an ayah, that's our way of life. And that's exactly what we saw in this beautiful story Yusuf alayhi salam, the beauty of the story is that he interacts with everything as messages from his Rabb, as beautiful messages. That's being a muhsin. Remember in the hadith about ihsan, so the hadith of Jibreel is that there is he asks the question about what is Islam, and then what is Iman, and then what is Ihsan. And he says, remember, it is to worship God as though you see Him, and if you don't see Him, He sees you. How do I worship God as though I see Him? Because I see Him, I see His speaking to me, he's communicating to me, his ayat everywhere. The ayat is like mirrors reflecting his messages everywhere. So there is no way I can forget whose host I am whose guest I am in this world. And the next ayah is 107, and this is like, I'm just amazed at how all these concepts, all these areas, when I read them first, I was saying, how is this to do with this beautiful story? Why suddenly talking about these people who don't believe, they don't see the ayats, they don't believe in God except they
Dr. Yamina, we don't hear you.
because
Okay. Now we hear you.
Okay. I was not sure you were hearing, that's why I stopped. It could be that there was a cut in my internet. So the next ayah is ayah 107. And it says, do they then, coming chastisement, shall not visit them, and hour shall not suddenly come upon them, without their even being aware. And this is a very powerful question. The first time I thought, why is this question coming right after all this? So with this question, we're like, can't find a better word. How do you say not only nudge is a little bit gentle, but shake maybe, shake someone to pay, to attract their attention. So it's like, let's say nudge, because I can't find the better word, nudging us to pay attention to our irresponsible attitude towards life, an attitude that is based on an illusion, on a delusion that we rarely, let's say seldom, question. The illusion that we're in control. Sorry, I think it's again.
Yeah, now your voice is clear, Dr. Yamina, but it hasn't been very clear. I think it's a connection problem.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. So I was talking about this questioning here. You know, it's like this illusion that we have, actually, that illusion. When we are in safe, we have that illusion that safety is lasting, as though, you know, we have a long life to enjoy, whereas the truth is that however long our life is, our worldly life, I mean, since it will end, then it is short. Since we will die, then it is short. As it's, we say, كل آت قريب. Whatever is coming is, when it comes, you don't say that, oh, but I lived for 60 years or 60 years or something. When it comes, and it doesn't seem so long. So it's the illusion of not realizing worldly life is temporary. It is ending. And so security from dangers is also temporary. And that's why Yusuf alayhi salam asked for everlasting life, even when he reached the pinnacle of his life. You know, at the very end, the story didn't end where we expected it to end. It ended with Yusuf alayhi salam asking for everlasting life. Because whatever you get, however your life in this world is great, at the end, it is not long. So when living in this state of ghafla, it feels, yes.
I just wanted to share something. This, you know, your point about how we almost live in an illusion has been, you know, hitting me recently. That, like, almost like a, I mean, it's illusion, but it's something that we almost breathe in, so it feels real, but it's really an illusion, and it's shocking sometimes if we have, you know, we're in this flow of, you know, being busy, doing things, but if we ever take a moment, then it becomes very clear that we are transient, everything is passing, and what are we really investing in? And like your references to this idea that, you know, this life is transient, and whatever we do, we are transient beings and we are in this flow, but the way a part of us is insisting on perceiving things is as if we are here for eternity, and as if things do make sense without connecting with our eternal creator, without putting in the horizon of life after death, as if they're just making sense, and, you know, there's a bigger purpose of things without them, as if, like, it's so fake, but it's so real in a way, not real, but we just repeat it over and over again.
It's real.
Huh? What did you say?
That's what you are right. I mean, that's why it's so. I'm saying you are right. That's why it's so challenging, because we keep repeating it again and again, we believe it.
Yeah,
so it's
all around.
That's why to remember, to stop, to reflect is so important, because otherwise it just seems so real. But when you stop and question it, it falls apart. It's not true. It's all fake. And nothing makes any sense if, like, subhanallah. Yeah, thank you. Yes, this is so important. Quran keeps saying, reflect. Who sees everything as ayah? Those who يعقلون, those who think, يتفكرون, those who reflect, and those who don't are those who are content with the life of this world, those who forget. Sorry, I think it was cut again, so I had to wait. So actually,
and then
nothing
in
makes
this like illusion, if I may add one more thing, in this illusion, if somebody reminds of death or how everything is transient, there are two things. One, like this immediate pain that I feel, and that's like, oh my God, I thought we're getting to, I was getting to somewhere, and all of a sudden somebody's kind of shattering my dreams. I wanted to have a bigger house. I want to do this. And then all of a sudden somebody's talking about transients, and it disturbs, as if like you are disturbing my dreams and my. But at the same time, it's very relieving because this living with this eternal horizon that Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, peace be upon him, was living is actually so beautiful, because then there is no fear. We are candidates for eternity. We are living within an eternal horizon, and not in that sense, nothing is transient. I mean, in that new sense, everything is connected to God. Yes, we're coming, we're going. It's not a big deal. So it's on the one hand, it has a painful effect because we're so connected to these illusions that I'm here and I'm by myself, and this is it. This life is real. Only this moment is real, and this moment is eternal. All of that illusions, and when you break them, it's painful to that side of us. But at the same time, it's so relieving, because alhamdulillah, all of a sudden we are not stuck with an illusion, but we live within this eternal horizon. And the Quranic verse that says, La khawfun alayhim wa lahum yahzanun, they shall not fear and they shall not be saddened. Because, like, you get a taste of it, because if we are in touch and connected to our Creator, we turn to Him, then like Sayyidina Yusuf, you're here, you're there, it doesn't really hurt. Nothing can hurt.
I want to comment one more thing. Jazakumullah khair. And this is like this, like what, the discussion where now this, I actually typed it, this phrase, what is the phrase, this eternal horizon, and then this explains how or why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the family of Sayyidina Ibrahim, that they had this gift of dhikr ad-dar, that they had this gift of always knowing where is home, and home for them was heaven, like eternal home. So that gift of realizing where is home, like where do you belong, so I think we all, and I struggle a lot with that. So I'm from Egypt, so is my home Egypt, and then from Egypt to Madison, Wisconsin is my home Wisconsin, then is it Charlottesville, and then after that, is it my work? Is my work my home? Okay, so then when you leave your home, what is your worth? You don't have a home. And then when you leave your job, what is your worth? Because you don't have a home. And when your family is no more with you, what is your worth? You don't have a home. And this is the difference between making our worth related to the wrong home, while the family of Ibrahim, and Ibrahim, peace be upon him, God describes them that they were unique because their eyes all the time was about the real home, and that real home was their eternal home. May Allah make us realize this and internalize it.
Amen. So Ayah 107 again, it says, do they then feel secure that an overwhelming chastisement shall not visit them, and that the hour shall not suddenly come upon them without their being aware? It's almost like it's asking us, look at your daily experience. Like, don't you see that you don't know what the future has in store for you? Even a day in advance, or you can think of it as an hour, even a minute before. when something happens, do we know it a minute before, an hour before? We don't. Then it's an invitation. Shouldn't you ponder on the implication of your path, of your choice? Of course, it's a choice that we made unconsciously, but nevertheless, it is a choice. And because of this choice, even when there are problems, like Isra was saying, when something reminds us that something is wrong with our perception, because it seems that illusion seems so real, it feels like we can postpone them safely to a distant future. Like, I don't know what it means, because it's not true. There is no guarantee that we will live up to that future, whatever that future is. Because as we are reminded in the Quran, no one knows when, where, and how he will die. And that's why here it says, can you be sure that you will not suddenly, the hour, like your death, that won't come suddenly upon you. You won't suddenly die. And it's very, very wise. The hikmah in this question is to wake us up from our ghafla. And the way that is used, the death, for instance, chastisement and death is used here. It's very compelling. It may seem harsh, but when we are, stuck into that delusion, and it feels so real, we need something strong to wake us up and from that. Actually, let's say it's like a nightmare. When we wake up, it will, or at least that delusion. And what this ayah is using is fear, or let's say what we fear the most. Death, not only it says death, but sudden death. We know that we will die, but if we dying suddenly is frightening because we have no control over it. And we fear it the most. So here it's saying, okay, do you have any guarantee that you won't die suddenly, an hour later, whatever? And in this way, we're forced to face what we fear the most, and that's our vulnerability. And I feel personally that this is what lies behind that ghafla, and that putting ourselves in that bubble of in the illusion that everything is permanent. Why? Because when we realize that everything is impermanent, it reminds us of our vulnerability. So it is because of this fear to acknowledge our utter vulnerability, I would say, because we are not a little vulnerable. We are. The more we think about it, the more we realize how vulnerable we are. It is because of that we shut ourselves in that delusion that the world is permanent. Because if we had to keep in mind all the time that the world is not permanent, we would have to accept that there is no way whatsoever for us to ever be self-sufficient or to ever control anything. We can't control our life because it's not permanent. It's constantly given to us anytime, which means anytime I can die. And we can't control our breath. We need to breathe constantly. One breath is not permanent. We can't control the growth of our hair, our nails. We only cut them and then they keep growing constantly. They are always changing. They never keep, in the same size. And we can't control and stop our aging, for instance. And this applies for everything. And that's very scary because it reminds us the fact that the world is constantly changing, that we are constantly changing, reminds us that nothing is under our control. And so this vulnerability is like a double-edged sword. It's very scary because, I don't know how it feels like, would feel like you're in the void with no support, like someone, how do you say, throws you in the air and you're not flying, but falling, and you don't know if there is ever going to be somewhere where you're going to land in. But at the same time, it is also the way to find the source of grounding, the source of support, to find our Rabb. So when we're in ghafla, we bracket out this reality because it's so unsettling, because it reminds me of my vulnerability. And so we carry on the struggle to be self-sufficient, as if we can be self-sufficient, like Yusuf's brothers and the wife of the Aziz. I mean, deep down, they must know that it's not true, but they're still trying. And in order to be able to live in that state of ghafla, we need to consciously embrace, or let's say, it may be easier to say the other way around. If I want to get out of that state of ghafla, because that's what we want to do, then we need to consciously embrace our vulnerability, or at least accept it. In the beginning, maybe it's not easy to embrace it suddenly, but at least accept that this is the fact. And that, inshallah, will lead us to realize our constant and total dependence. In the beginning, we won't realize our constant and total dependence, but we will realize slowly that we depend on another source, on our Rabb. We will find our Rabb. The more we realize the extent of our vulnerability, the more we realize the extent of rububiyyah. And then that will lead to genuine tawheed. So nothing will be a means for shirk, because everything is an ayah from him. Everything is coming from him. So there is no way for shirk. And here again, to remind ourselves is that whether we acknowledge it or not, whether we accept it or not, the fact is that we are vulnerable. It's not like we have the choice and the believers choose to be vulnerable and the others don't. That's not true. It is our reality. Being vulnerable is our reality. We just choose how we choose to accept it or to fight it. And when we are fighting it, it doesn't lead us anywhere. Because when we accept it, we're more likely to deal with it effectively, as the prophets alayhum salam did, and as Yusuf alayhi salam does in this story. So the choice is up to us. That's why choice is very important. We make choices all the time, whether consciously or unconsciously. And we are responsible for our choices. And so if you think of the story, Yusuf's story, it in a way portrays how vulnerability can be transformed into a means for strength and wisdom and rahmah, when it is used to recognize our being needy, our having needs, our being abd, and thus reconnecting, or becoming aware of our connection, because we are already connected to our generous and loving Rabb. And so that's why it says in Ayah 107, do they then feel secure that an overwhelming chastisement shall not visit them, and that the hour shall not suddenly come upon them without their ever being aware? And this ayah is in a way asking us also, shouldn't you consider seriously whether the path you are following is really the right path? If this thought doesn't give an answer to this, then what's the point in following it? Do you have any evidence to support your decision to live as you do? We should ask ourselves, have we ever thought of our destination? Where are we heading this way, the way we live? Can we reach our destination safely, securely? What is our warrant? What is our evidence? And it's almost like telling us, are you sure you're not following this path blindly, without questioning, without knowledge, without guidance? And it is true, we are following blindly. As opposed to whom? As opposed to the path that the prophets of God have been guiding us to. Like in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, how he lived his life, how he was guided all over. Wouldn't we want to be guided like him, with knowledge, with rahmah? Wouldn't we want to be taught hikmah so we can interpret the most important events in our life, so that we know the meaning and purpose of our lives? This path, the path of Yusuf alayhi salam, the path of the prophets, the path of Prophet ﷺ, Muhammad ﷺ, is the path of clear perception. It says in the next ayah, ayah 108, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي أَدْعُو إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ. Tell them plainly, this is my way, I call unto God on the basis of clear perception, not blindly. Both I and those who follow me. So I don't call everyone. I call myself and I call those who follow me. Those who follow me, they follow the path on the basis of clear perception. على بصيرة. I have nothing to do with those who commit shirk. وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين. And it says, and glory be to God, He is free of every imperfection. I have nothing to do with those who commit shirk, with the mushrikeen. And subhanallah, how it fits. Subhanallah here, if you remember, we said it means that God is absolutely free from whatever is ascribed to Him, free from weaknesses, shortcoming, evil, error, anything that we don't like, any imperfection. And these imperfections, these evil things, we ascribe to Him when we are in a state of shirk, when we are in a state of ghafla. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, Subhanallah wa ma ana min al-mushrikeen. I am not among the mushrikeen, the unaware, because you remember shirk is a state of those who are unaware that events and ayats, and things are ayats, because they are not aware that everything is impermanent. And it is when in that state, they are in that state of shirk, that they don't see Allah's rahmah. And so they accuse Him of being less than perfect, let's say. They don't say, we can't say subhanaka when we are in that state, because there are so many things we are unhappy with. We don't see things as ayat. We don't see the messages that they carry. We're stuck in the things themselves. We don't see what they are pointing to. We don't see beyond them. And so it makes more sense to me now why Surah Yusuf ends like this, after telling us this beautiful story.
Yamina?
Because, yes.
What does basira mean to you here?
Basira, insight, clear seeing not only with the eye, but with the heart, with the knowledge, with wisdom.
So the words basira and taqwa and it's like, so they're coming, like these words like have the same meaning, like taqwa, like awareness. Basira is also awareness. So do you see these words as one meaning?
They are not one. They don't have one meaning. They may be related to each other. We don't have clear perception when we don't have awareness, but it's not the same thing. One is the outcome of the other, let's say. Let's say we have basira, we have clear perception only when we consciously follow divine guidance, when we live without awareness that everything is an ayah, when we have the wisdom and we can make ta'wil al-hadith, so we can read the signs. And so even when there is something painful happening, we see beyond it. We're not stuck in the pain itself. We see that it's an ayah that is telling us something about rahmah, about hikmah, about something beautiful. And that's why when we are not in that awareness, when we live in ghafla, we are open to shirk, and we can't see the rahmah everywhere, especially not in painful events. And so we complain, and we talked about it, I think, once. And by complaining, what we're actually doing, without we realize it or not, is accusing God's wisdom, God's rahmah. We slandering His creation. It says in the Quran, وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ افترى على الله كذبا أو كذب بآياته. So it's related to not seeing the ayat. I'm stuck in the pain, and I can't see what the pain is pointing to. I can't see that it is pointing to something beautiful. So I say, this is very ugly, this is evil. And what I'm saying indirectly is that Allah is creating ugly things, and this is slandering. And that's why it says, and the next ayah, right, it says, who could be more adlamu? How do you translate adlamu? Who could be more wrong, let's say, than he who slanders God or gives the lie to his ayat? Verily, such wrongdoers will never attain to a happy state. Carry on the ayah. For one day we shall gather them all together, and then we shall say unto those who ascribed, who committed shirk, where now are those beings whom you made shirk with? Whereupon, in their confusion, they will only be able to say, by God, our Rabb, we were not mushrikeen. Of course, if they were aware, they wouldn't say this. They were not aware that they were making shirk. مَا كُنَّا مُشْرِكِينَ. Behold, I'm carrying on the next ayah. Behold how they have lied to themselves, and how their false imagery has forsaken them. If they would see them when they would be made to stand before the fire, and will say, oh, with that we were brought back to life, then we would not give the lie to our Rabb's ayat. لا نكذب به.
Where are you reading? Which verses are you reading, Yamina?
I will tell you when I finish. But would be among the believers. They regret. They say, we wish we did not give the lie to our Rabb's ayat. Would be among the believers. But nay, they will say this only because the truth which they used to conceal from themselves in the past will have become obvious to them. Of course, obvious to them in the day of judgment. And if they were brought back to life, they would return to the very thing which was forbidden to them. For behold, they are indeed liars. And this is true for us. Something happens in our life, we regret. After a few months, we find ourselves again in the old way of doing things. And they say, I'm carrying on again, and they say there is nothing beyond our life in this world, for we shall not be raised from the dead. We may not say it, but we may live as though this was true. Lost indeed are they who consider it a lie that they will have to meet God, till the last hour suddenly comes upon them, and they cry, alas for us that we disregarded it, for they shall bear on their backs their burdens, and how evil are their burdens. And the life of this world is nothing but a play and a passing delight, and the life in the hereafter is by far the better for all who are conscious of God, for all those who are conscious of God. Will you not then use your reason? أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. So this is on, it starts from 621 to 632. So this is why Yusuf, alayhi salam, who was a muhsin, who even when something looked not pretty, he knew that it was only an ayah. I mean, if the how do you call the sign showing the way to Charlottesville, if there is some mud on it, or if it got old or something, do we care? What is written on it, what it shows is important. But no, we are we get so stuck on, look at this, it's rusty, it's should be written in another color, because we are not aware that it is pointing to something else. We're looking at the paper of the map rather than what the map is about. The map is a treasure map. Just go and use it and find the treasure. Who cares what color it is or the quality of the paper? And that's what a muhsin is, the one who is aware that always everything is an ayah pointing to something beautiful. Ihsan, muhsin, husn, and to the asma and husna. And therefore, he was given wisdom because of that, remember? And so he was aware of all this that we've been talking about. And that's what we've been learning through him, through his story in this surah. And so at the very end, when he was a powerful ruler, when he was reunited with his family members, when he was reconciled with his brothers, that was very important. Brothers who wanted to get rid of him, what does he say? He says, yes, Rabbi qad ataytani min al-mulki wa 'allamtani min ta'wil al-ahadith. So he is aware of all that has been given to him in this world. Fatir as-samawati wal-ard, anta waliyyi fi dunya wal-akhirah. You are my guardian in this world and in the hereafter. Tawaffani musliman walhiqni bis-salihin. This is really, really beautiful. So all at that point, he says, oh my Rabbi, you have bestowed mulk, dominion, power upon me, and you have taught me the interpretation of event. Fatir, originator, creator of the heavens and earth, you are my guardian in this world and in the hereafter. Make me die in surrender and join me with the righteous. Subhanallah, subhanallah. He's so aware that even when his life becomes like, to us, like the best thing, that's it. No, he says, oh, this is really nice. That best life is also, oh my God, if it is so beautiful here, it is an ayah to the hereafter again. So he is longing even more the hereafter. This must be like, he really wants to go to that, the realm of everlasting beauty, because here whatever he sees is only impermanent, only transient, thani. Let me finish the prayer because that's all I have to say. اللهم اجعل ألسنتنا عامرة بذكرك وقلوبنا بخشيتك وإصرارنا بطاعتك إنك على كل شيء قدير وحسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم آمين. Thank you. Yes, Isra.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Maybe I don't have a right to ask the question since I didn't join all the halakas, but when we look at people who are like muhsinin and look at their life, I mean, of course, we may not know everybody, but like the role models or the prophets, for example, they are pretty much like that all their life, and they are not like really, even from their childhood, they are like that. So it shows that Allah gives them as a blessing, this being Muslim, like everything is being given to them. Yeah.
Isra, Musa alayhi salam, you remember that he was the cause of someone dying, so it's not the case all the time.
I mean, I don't know.
It's not like they were, everyone has been, there is no theory about the chosen people. Or, let's say, in the Quran, everyone is chosen. If you are chosen as a human being, everyone has been thought, given this ability. So, and the fact that this story is being told to us is the same ability. Why is God telling me the story? So I think let's be hopeful.
Yeah.
There is hope. And it's very challenging, and yet at the same time, it's very easy. You know how easy it is? Just like you put the light on and off. Taking that decision, intending, is that easy. And if we keep intending without losing patience, because we lose patience when we get again into that illusion that everything is permanent. So, oh, I've been doing it for how many months? No, you've been doing it now. Doing it now. And the more we do it, the more we make that choice consciously, the more, subhanAllah, Allah makes it easier and easier and easier until it becomes like that's how the way you see things. It becomes so much easier. That's also rahmah.
Also, like the ayah in the Quran, إن خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا أن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. I think it answers this question that it's for everyone. That God says, I've created you from one man and woman, but then made you into nations and tribes so that you get to know each other. And indeed, the most akramakum, the most praised among you, or the most, generous among you, is the one with the most awareness. Yeah, the most honored is the one with the most awareness.
So all human beings have been karrama, have been chosen, have been honored. Yeah, that's, is nice what you said.
So it gives everyone a chance. Like it's saying we all have this potential. All of us from our different nations, from our different tribes, from our different backgrounds, we all have this potential in us. And actually we're here to witness this potential in each other. It also strikes me as Allah saying watch each other, see, look at each other, look at the muhsinin within you, as if it's saying look at the muhsinin within you. Like these are the people that are the most honored. Look at them. They are your guides. So it makes us look into our different nations and tribes, not for superiority or whatever it is, but to find the muhsins in us, like to find those people who are the most aware, because these are the ones that are most honored. And these are not just the prophets, these are everyone.
Actually, Isra's question is really important. That's why the concept of choice is so important, because it seems to us that the prophets are muhsinins because they were chosen as prophets. But no, it's because they chose to be a muhsin that they were chosen as prophets. It's the other way around. Like it would mean that the fact that I was not born as a prophet, then I lost from the beginning. But this is not true. Like, even if you're not going to be a prophet, you can be as close as you can. And you have that opportunity or potential, as Ali said. And it's easy to just choose. And the ayah that just quoted is so nice, because it doesn't matter where, how, in which conditions I was born. If I make that as an excuse to not choosing muhsin, then it is my excuse only. Because nothing can prevent me from being a muhsin. And we saw that in this story. The brothers, they were brothers of the same father. Yusuf alayhi salam and his brothers, they were in the same household. They learned the same wisdom from their fathers, but they did not make the same choices. And we know that it's not like Allah gave special signs to Yusuf and nothing to the brothers. The brothers, when they decided to get rid of Yusuf, they did see the signs as well. But they said, this time we will act this way, and then we will become good again. So they felt something in their heart. They received the message as well. They received that guidance, but they did not honor it. And so it's all about honoring the guidance, and everyone receives the guidance in the same way. Like the guidance, the rahmah is broadcasted everywhere, and it's up to me to open my heart to it or not, to choose to see it or not. So, alhamdulillah, there is justice and inequality.
We can say like this maybe with your explanation. Allah gives, nobody can create themselves. Like you cannot be a muhsin unless Allah blesses you with that. But the fact is Allah gives everybody that chance. They need to just be open for that. Otherwise, I mean, whatever I do with my own things like or studies, I cannot be like that unless Allah gives that blessing. But Allah indeed gives that to everybody unless you do reject it or like you do something not to accept it.
Yeah, actually, Isra, this story of Yusuf is to show us how to live our life, how to make choices in order to be a muhsin. So it's saying this is the way. You want to be a muhsin? You want to be like the Prophet? You want to and interpret events like Yusuf alayhi salam? Here I'm teaching you. And when we were listening to the story, we learned how it was telling us how it looks, how the event looks apparently to those who don't see the inner meaning. And then it told us what it was pointing to. So it was actually teaching us while telling us the story. So why would it teach me this if I had no way to be a muhsin? I can only choose to make the wrong choices and become a non-muhsin. Otherwise, it's in the fitrah. We have the seed to grow into a muhsin. But we also have the seed. Remember the tree of tuba and the tree of zakum. Both seeds are in us, and we choose which one to water and take care of. So it's really, choice is very important, and that's why awareness is important, because unless I'm aware, I'm making choices without even realizing it by default. But I want to make conscious choices that I'm aware of and I know about and I'm satisfied with. That's the whole point. And that's not difficult, actually. It is only challenging and difficult because we find it so difficult to get out of that state of apathy, that state of unawareness, that bubble of ghafla. And because when we're used to it, and so we find it easy. It's our zone of comfort. But in the beginning, it's, even if it's going to take some effort to get out of it, and afterwards, mashallah, barakallah, subhanallah, he makes it easy. That's why in the Qudsi hadith it says, if you come one step towards me, I will come 10 steps towards you. So just make the decision, inshallah, make the intention and start. And it will become easier and easier, inshallah.
Does anyone have any further comments or questions before we conclude this beautiful session? There's a lot from my point of view, there's a lot to absorb and settle in and think about and try to bring to our life and see, get to that step from knowing to doing, to actually living. So any reflections?
I just want to add one more thing. When Isra was making a comment and then Yamina Abla read the ayats, the ayats, which surah was that? I forgot the name of the surah, Yamina Abla. That the word life is like a play. There was verse.
Surah 6, I think.
Okay. When you said like this world is like so real, and then on the other hand, it's kind of like an illusion. I was thinking about like this example, like if you are in a theater player, like theater play, you are actor or actress, you are so sure that that's a game. I mean, you don't have any doubt. It's like real. I mean, it's like a real life, but you know that it's a, I mean, when I mean it's real, for example, in the theater, you are cooking in the kitchen, and you eat and drink. It's real as you really eat and drink, but you know that it's like a play. It's not real in that sense. So when you mentioned that actual example, that I remember this example, and then when Yamina abla actually read the surah or verses, there was like in the end, one of the verses like close to the end was mentioning this, like this world is like a play. Maybe in Quran, I don't know, maybe it's referring to something else, not like a theater play, like, and we are actor and actress. But I think that's a really good example, because whatever happens, like if something bad happens to you, and you know that you are sure that you are part of the play, and if it doesn't matter for you if you are the king or the queen or the slave in that movie or like the theater play, I mean, you know that you are an actor or actress, and it wouldn't matter for you. Or if you know that it's just a game and it will be over. Or if you are, for example, getting sick in that theater, you know that that's part of that play and it will be finishing, and it's not the real. But so when you play, like when you act it or when you play the game, I mean, you can get affected from things because you are playing the game and it's real, like you touch to things or eat or drink, like I said. So that was my something that I thought about.
That's nice. I think it's nice to use as a metaphor, inshallah, to remind ourselves.
Sometimes actually it happens to me, like I work in the hospital, and there will be a patient like who is kind of always unhappy or like complaining of something. At some moments, not always, unfortunately, I can like remember this, but sometimes, you know, sometimes it's hard. There are some patients like who are like hard to deal with. I shouldn't say this, but they will be like maybe unhappy or complaining, or like they are unhappy with everything. If I can, for example, at that moment catch that, okay, like this is a part of the game, and now in front of me here is another player or actor or actress playing his or her role, like which is just complaining. When I feel this, I can really, okay, take it really easy. But if I just start feeling like it's kind of a real thing, I start to feel like, I mean, we do everything for these people, and then they end up starting complaining. I mean, so like hard to make these people happy. I start to think like that, and I just start to think everything is real. But when I'm able to think the other way, it's so easy. Like you don't get affected.
Yeah, that's very nice. A
I
practical
like that,
way of.
Isra. That is beautiful. That is a good strategy. So we should use that strategy.
Yeah, thank you. This is a nice tool
to think of when someone, like, you know, when someone is annoying you or complaining or like, you know, or saying something that hurts, then you can look at them and say, oh, that is the role. What is my role? Like, you know.
Exactly.
Like, you know, like they
What
know
is
their
my role
lines
as a
very well.
Muslim?
Do I know my lines? They're good at in reciting their lines. Do I know my lines?
Ayla, what is my role as a muhsin, a mu'min?
Yeah.
What is my role as someone who reflects compassion and love and wisdom?
And you know what? Another, as you saying that, something else came in mind. Like Ali and Rana School, they have things that improvisation. So like, you know, in drama classes, they go on stage and they give a line. So for example, they would do like this patient. They would say, okay, now I will give you a line and you will always have to be, for example, fun when you answer this, or you have to be sarcastic when you answer this, or you have to find the
like if from our point of view, the Muhsin side. So then they get a patient who's complaining in the hospital. And if it was like about criticizing them, you have to criticize, or so then like if putting you and Yamina's together, then this is our improvise, like this is our learning. The better you are in improvising, the better you know what to do, means that you're always going to respond consistently with the theme that you're given. So the better we are in what we're doing, then every time we have, an actor who's doing their role in giving, this learning activity, then we should show that we are good in actually answering back with the theme of ihsan.
Yes.
So that is like putting both together.
Yes. So inshallah, we are the Muhsin. The Muhsin is the one who consciously reflects the divine names. And you have that wisdom. What is the divine names that is needed in this situation? All the divine names are beautiful. Love, compassion, guidance. Even when you need to show the way in, how do I say? Like sometimes love can be showing a kind way, or giving a reward, keeping away the reward. But the intention is always that ihsan, that in a beautiful way, in a wise way. Thank you, Isra. I think this is a very powerful tool that we can use in practice. It's practical. We can use it. So inshallah, we'll remember to use it in our daily life.
Anyone else wants to share some like beautiful, uplifting, or anything that comes to their heart before we conclude? Okay, then we thank you again, Yamina, for bringing us together. May Allah give you the power and the barakah and the clear insight and the dedication to continue to do this with us, and ground you in this and make it rewarding for you, so that you inshallah will be given this barakah of continuing with this. And may Allah make us benefit from these beautiful moments that we all come together from different parts of the world, to join in this beautiful space that connects us to Allah. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. And جزاكم الله كل خير, all of us. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم يمينة.
Ameen. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, everyone. Thank you.